The rain was pounding my roof like it had a personal grudge. The kind of storm that makes you want to crawl back under the covers and forget the world. I was sprawled on my couch in Crestview, Colorado in my favorite faded Broncos hoodie, scrolling through design gigs on my laptop when a knock cut through the thunder. My name's Jenna Perez, and I'm a freelance graphic designer who thought she'd left drama behind in Denver. That night, though, drama found me. I shuffled to the door, expecting a neighbor begging for sugar or maybe a lost delivery guy. Instead, I opened it to a baby carrier, soaked through, sitting on my porch like some forgotten package. Inside was a tiny bundle wrapped in a pink blanket, her dark eyes staring up at me, silent and steady like she was sizing me up. My heart stopped. "Hello," I shouted into the storm, but all I got back was the screech of tires peeling out down the street. A soggy note was tucked into the carrier, flapping in the wind. I grabbed it, my hands shaking as I read the words in my sister Claire's jagged handwriting. "I can't do this. She's yours now, Jenna." Claire, my older sister, the one who'd always been a whirlwind of chaos. Parties, bad boyfriends, and a knack for disappearing when things got tough. Growing up in Denver, our parents were all about their country club image, their perfect Sutton family facade. Claire was the rebel, always in trouble, while I was the quiet one sketching in my room trying to stay invisible. I'd moved to Crestview to escape their judgment, their coldness, and Claire's messes. But now here was her baby, left in the rain like a stray dog. I brought the carrier inside, my tiny living room feeling smaller by the second. The baby wasn't crying, which freaked me out more than if she had been. She just watched me like she knew I was in over my head. "Okay, Jenna, think," I muttered, packing past my cluttered desk and half-dead house plants. I didn't know Claire was pregnant. She hadn't called in months. Hose police, our parents. God, the thought of calling them made my stomach twist. They disowned Claire when her addiction got bad, and they'd always treated me like a disappointment for choosing a bohemian life over their high society world. I dial my mom anyway, my fingers clumsy on the phone. She picked up, her voice sharp. "Do you know how late it is? Mom, Claire left her baby on my doorstep. There's just a note. I don't know what to do." Silence then. "Well, Jenna, I suppose she's your responsibility now." "What, Mom? I can't. Your sister made her choice." She cut in, cold as ever. "We can't have this scandal getting out. Handle it quietly. Put Dad on. He's asleep. Don't raise your voice at me, Jenna. This is why Claire couldn't trust you to handle things properly. Be discreet." Click. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, then at the baby, who let out a tiny snuffle like she was reminding me she was still there. "Just us, huh?" I said, my voice wobbling. I was 25, barely keeping my freelance gigs afloat. And now I had a kid. Panic clawed at me, but those eyes, those big, trusting eyes, kept me moving. I found a YouTube video on newborn care, grabbed my keys, and ran to the 24-hour pharmacy for diapers and formula, leaving her alone for 12 agonizing minutes. I kept picturing her waking up crying with no one there. When I got back, she was still asleep, and I sank to the floor, shaking, promising her we'd figure it out. The next morning, I called in sick to my part-time retail job. My boss wasn't having it. "Family emergency doesn't cut it after probation," she snapped. I lost the job a week later, my savings dwindling as I bought bottles, clothes, and a second-hand crib. The only paperwork was a half-filled birth certificate application listing December 21st as her birthday. Winter solstice, hope in the darkest time. So I named her Lee, my little light. That first week during a middle-of-the-night feeding, I whispered to her, "I have no clue what I'm doing, but we'll get through this together." I didn't know it then, but that promise would define the next decade of my life, and the fight I never saw coming. 10 years flew by like a whirlwind of sippy cups, school plays, and late-night design deadlines. Aaliyah grew from that silent bundle into a spitfire of a kid. Gangly legs, paint-splattered hands, and a laugh that could light up our tiny Crestview house. I traded my Denver dreams for this small-town life. Freelancing for my cluttered home office so I could be there for her first steps, her first words, her first soccer goal. Every crayon drawing on the fridge, every bedtime story on our sagging couch felt like a victory. I wasn't just raising Aaliyah. She was saving me, giving me purpose I'd never found in my parents' world of polished surfaces and empty promises. But one afternoon, as I was tweaking a logo for a client, a sharp knock rattled my door. Aaliyah was at her friend Mia for a sleepover, and I wasn't expecting anyone. Something about that knock, too loud, too demanding, made my gut twist. I opened the door, and it was like stepping into a bad dream. There stood Claire, my sister, looking like she'd walked out of a magazine. Designer coat, flawless makeup, not a hair out of place. Flanking her were our parents, my mom's face set in that familiar scowl, my dad staring at his shoes. Behind them, a guy in a slick suit clutched a briefcase like a weapon. "Hey, Jenna," Claire said, her smile all teeth, no warmth. "We need to talk about my daughter." The world spun. I gripped the doorframe, my voice steadier than I felt. "Your daughter? You mean the one you left on my porch in a storm 10 years ago?" Claire's eyes glistened with tears that looked practiced. I was sick then, Jenna. I've changed. I'm sober, successful. I want her back. The suit stepped forward. Miss Perez, I'm Richard Langston, attorney. We're here to discuss custody arrangements for Aaliyah. Custody. The word hit like a punch, but beneath the shock something fiercer was rising. A mama bear instinct honed over a decade of love. You're not coming in, I said, blocking the doorway, and you're not discussing custody of my daughter. Our daughter, Claire corrected, her voice syrupy. Let's be civil, Jenna, civil. I laughed, bitter, like abandoning a newborn in the rain is civil. My mom stepped forward. Her pearl necklace gleaming. Jenna, stop being dramatic. Your sister's trying to make things right after 10 years, try again. I pulled out my phone and dialed Christopher Caldwell, my best friend from college and a damn good lawyer. His blue pickup rolled into my driveway minutes later and he strode up, all calm confidence. Perfect timing, Langston said, his smile tight. I was about to present custody filing papers. Then present them to me, Christopher said, stepping beside me. I'm Miss Perez's attorney. You knew this was coming, my dad muttered, finally looking up. No, I snapped. I just learned not to trust any of you. We ended up in my living room, Christopher, insisting it looked cooperative. He sat beside me on the couch while Claire, my parents, and Langston perched on chairs usually covered in Aaliyah's art supplies. Langston spread papers across my coffee table. My client has been sober for 3 years, has a stable home and a thriving career. She's ready to parent, sober. I stare to Claire. You were using when you had her. Claire dabbed her eyes with a fancy handkerchief. I was in a dark place, but I'm better now. I can give Aaliyah everything she deserves, everything she deserves. My voice shook. She deserves a mom who didn't ditch her. She deserves grandparents who didn't call her a scandal. She's got straight A's, plays soccer, loves painting. Did you know any of that? No, because you've been gone her whole life. We tried to be involved. My mom cut in. You pushed us away. Christopher raised a hand. Let's stick to facts. You're claiming Jenna alienated Aaliyah from her family. That's a vague accusation. We have proof, Langston said, pulling out more papers. Refused calls, ignored invitations. Funny, I said, standing. I walked to my desk, unlocked a drawer and pulled out a folder thick with 10 years of proof. Voicemails, texts, emails, I've got evidence too. Every time you ignored her, every time you called her a problem, Claire's face flickered with something. Fear maybe, what are those? Insurance, I said, against exactly this. Christopher scanned Langston's papers. They're requesting full custody, Jenna, with supervised visits for you. Like hell, I said, my voice low, get out all of you. Christopher handles this now, you can't keep her from me. Claire stood, her polished mass cracking. She's my blood. Blood. I pointed to Aaliyah's paintings on the wall. Where was blood when she had a fever at 2 and I stayed up all night? Where was it for every scraped knee? Every school play? You don't get to Walt now. Langston smirked. We're prepared to go public. The press loves a mom fighting for her stolen child. Stolen? I felt something snap. I've got the note. Claire, want me to show it to the press? My mom grabbed Claire's arm, staring her out. This isn't over, Jenna. You've always been selfish. They left. Langston's briefcase swinging like a threat. Christopher stayed, his face grim. They're playing dirty. You ready for this? I pulled out a USB drive. Years of documented neglect inside. They have no idea how ready I am. The next few weeks were a blur of late nights and whispered fears. I'd tuck Aaliyah into bed, her galaxy pajamas glowing under the lamp, and she'd ask, Mom, is everything okay? I'd smile, brush her hair back, and say, I'm handling it, kiddo. But inside, I was terrified. Claire and my parents weren't just fighting for Aaliyah. They were fighting for a trust fund my grandma had left for Claire's firstborn. A fortune they could control only if Aaliyah was in their custody. $2 million accessible when she turned 18, unless they got her now and played trustees. It wasn't about